The Backdated. Episode 10. What the ground was. Hiding. An entire civilization hiding under the Amazon canopy. A 5,000-year-old tomb that vanished for generations and then reappeared because of a drought. A set of sacred fires burning in a temple older than most recorded history. And a 7-foot statue of an ancient god of medicine, buried under a collapsed gate for nearly 2,000 years. 4 different places. 4 different centuries, all of them hidden until very recently. This is the Backdated. This is what the ground was hiding. Let's start in the Amazon, because this one reshapes an idea that's been around for generations. That before Europeans arrived, the rainforest was mostly untouched wilderness, home to small, scattered communities living lightly on the land. Recent research is making that picture very hard to defend. A major study built around a wider cultural network researchers call the Equirri civilization, centered in what's now southwestern Amazonia, used a technology called LiDAR to look underneath the forest canopy itself. LiDAR works by firing enormous numbers of laser pulses at the ground from the air. Some of those pulses slip through gaps in the leaves and branches, bounce back, and let researchers digitally strip the forest away, revealing whatever shapes are sitting on the ground beneath it. What showed up wasn't scattered huts, it was geometry. Circles, squares, rectangular enclosures, massive ditches, causeways connecting one monumental site to another. Across newly surveyed stretches of Brazil, researchers documented 432 separate earthworks, more than 10 times the 36 that had previously been known in the area. Combined with older satellite data and prior surveys, the numbers point to something enormous. A cultural region potentially spanning roughly 70,000 square miles across Brazil, Bolivia, and Peru, with researchers estimating the full landscape could ultimately contain somewhere between 24,000 and 30,000 individual earthworks. These aren't small features either. Some of the ditches surrounding these complexes run 30 to 40 feet wide and up to 16 feet deep, the kind of construction that requires organized labor, surveying, mass excavation, coordinated maintenance, and enough food production to support workers over generations. Archaeologists believe this building tradition stretches back more than 2,500 years, with major construction happening between roughly 600 BC and 850 AD. At its estimated peak, researchers think this network may have supported somewhere between 1.25 and 3 million people, a population thriving in the Amazon around the same era. Rome was dominating the Mediterranean. The bigger implication may matter more than any single number. This wasn't a civilization that simply adapted to a pristine forest. It looks increasingly like people actively shaped the forest around them, meaning parts of the Amazon we think of as untouched nature may actually carry the fingerprints of a civilization that built, maintained, and eventually lost a landscape on a massive scale. LiDAR has only scanned a fraction of the total rainforest. What else might still be sitting under that canopy is, at this point, an open question. From the Amazon, we go to an ordinary-looking farm field outside Welshpool, Wales. No stones sticking out of the ground, no visible walls or entrance, just crops. But this year, Wales went through months of unusually hot, dry weather, and something began appearing in those crops that hadn't been clearly visible from the air in roughly 3 decades. From ground level, there was nothing to see. From above, archaeologist Toby Driver could make out the unmistakable rectangular outline of a Neolithic long barrow, a burial monument at least 5,000 years old. The barrow itself didn't physically rise out of the ground. What appeared was closer to its outline, its ghost. Buried structures change how soil above them holds water. An old ditch retains more moisture than the ground around it, while a buried wall can cause the crops directly above it to dry out faster. During extreme drought, those tiny differences in moisture become visible as darker or lighter patches in the crops themselves, essentially letting a buried monument draw its own outline across a field from above. That's exactly what happened across Wales this year. Roman buildings, Iron Age enclosures, and prehistoric monuments all reappeared during the same dry stretch between April and July, many of them unseen this clearly from the air in 20 or 30 years. The long barrow stands out because of its age. 5,000 years ago, Neolithic Britain was already building monumental sites tied to death, ancestry, and communal ritual, well before written language or cities existed in the region. And around the same era, the first great stone monuments were beginning to reshape prehistoric Britain. These barrows typically weren't single-person tombs. They tended to be collective monuments, holding human remains from an entire community rather than one ruler. What's striking is that nothing had to be excavated for this to resurface. For thousands of years, people simply farmed over it, unaware. This year's drought didn't create anything new. It just temporarily removed the disguise, and it raises an obvious question. How many other fields across Britain are quietly sitting on top of monuments that simply haven't had the right weather yet to reveal themselves? Next, we move to eastern Turkey, to a site called Totem, a mound where different civilizations built on top of each other in layers across thousands of years. Prehistoric settlements, then Bronze Age and Iron Age communities, later Roman, Byzantine, and Ottoman occupations stacked on top. But digging into the deepest layers, archaeologists recently uncovered something older than all of it. A temple complex dating to roughly 3000 BC, containing 2 altars and 3 sacred hearths, arranged in a way that suggests deliberate ceremonial use rather than ordinary domestic life. That alone would be notable. But Totem had already produced an even older ritual space nearby, dated to roughly 6,000 years ago, containing sacred hearths decorated with stylized human and bull imagery. Between the 2 discoveries, archaeologists have now identified 2 separate temple areas and 6 sacred hearths at this single site, suggesting this wasn't a brief religious experiment, but a location that stayed ceremonially important across multiple prehistoric phases, likely spanning many centuries. The people who used this site weren't isolated either. Pottery connected to the broader Kura cultural tradition ties Totem into wider trade and cultural networks stretching across eastern Anatolia and into the South Caucasus, including at least 1 painted vessel decorated with a mountain goat. So 5,000 years ago, this looks like a community participating in a wider web of trade and shared ideas, while maintaining temples built around fire, ritual, and offerings, possibly tied to solstice events and astronomical alignment. What's missing, and what may always be missing, is the actual identity of the people who worshipped there. Archaeologists have their altars and their fire pits. They don't have their names, their language, or their own account of what any of it meant to them. Finally, we travel south to the Roman city of Aspendos in southern Turkey, best known historically for its enormous, well-preserved theater. During excavations near the city's monumental gateway, archaeologists working through collapsed architecture uncovered a marble statue standing roughly 7.2 feet tall, dating to the final quarter of the 2nd century AD. It depicts Asclepius, the ancient Greek god associated with healing and medicine. He isn't alone in the sculpture. Standing beside him is a smaller figure, Telesphoros, a companion deity associated specifically with recovery and convalescence, the process of healing after an illness or injury, rather than the moment of the cure itself. Asclepius appears as a mature, bearded man in a draped cloak. His missing right arm would once have rested on a staff wrapped by a serpent, the same symbol still associated with medicine well over 18 centuries later. Together, the pairing suggests the statue wasn't just meant to represent a single miraculous healing, but the entire arc from sickness back to health. Where the statue was found matters almost as much as what it depicts. It turned up among the collapsed remains of the northern wing of the city's monumental gate, on the western side of Aspendos' East Square, one of the city's most important public spaces, suggesting it likely once stood somewhere prominent, visible to residents and visitors passing through. For the people living there roughly 1,800 years ago, health wasn't treated as separate from religious life. Healing involved physicians and remedies, but also gods, sacred spaces, and ritual. After nearly 18 centuries buried beneath a collapsed gateway, that god of healing has resurfaced. 4 discoveries, 4 very different parts of the world. A possible multi-million person civilization hidden under Amazon rainforest canopy. A 5,000-year-old burial monument revealed by dying crops in Wales. A set of sacred fires burning in Turkey before most of recorded history began. And a 7-foot god of medicine pulled from the collapsed gateway of a Roman city. What connects all 4 isn't the era or the location. It's that none of them were ever really gone. They were just covered by a forest, by a field, by later civilizations built directly on top by a collapsed wall. New tools, from LiDAR to simple aerial photography during a drought, are increasingly able to strip those layers away without anyone needing to dig at all. Which raises the obvious question, If discoveries this significant are still surfacing in 2026, how much of human history is still sitting, completely invisible, right beneath our feet? If you want us to dig into another case like this one, let us know in the comments. This has been The Backdated.